Boom, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Life is a Chad YouTube channel. I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. I've been wanting to react to this video, or clip rather, for a couple of days now. Just haven't had the time to be able to do so in a timely fashion, but we're here all the same. And the clip that I'm referencing, we're just going to dive, duck, dip, dive, and dodge into it. And that, of course, is Megyn Kelly talking about the TradCon girl experience in the modern dating sphere. And yes, she says exactly what you would think that she would say, you would predict that she was going to say. And so without further ado, let's get into this. By the way, guys, just doing some housekeeping here. Give me a follow on X at Life is a Chad. You can find the link in the description. Definitely seen an uptick in followers there recently, and I appreciate that. Subscribe to this channel, this YouTube channel, like, comment, the whole shebang. May as well just do it, you know. It's a small way to show your support. You know, definitely like just liking the video. That's like the easiest free of charge way to support the video. And in my most recent video, my screen was definitely lagging quite a bit, and hopefully I got that taken care of. I looked it up, and apparently you can do you can do you can click a little link here on Zoom that says optimize for video sharing. And it's like, dude, how is that not already there? I cannot believe that that's you have to click that. What? So, anyways, it might take me out of the picture, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the share and then put it on me, and then we'll just go
Usually
like
they're
that.
looking for somebody.
And by the way, we might also react to some other um, responses to this video. I think Jedediah, who I think she's a feminist myself, but I think she actually had a decent anecdotal story to tell, so we might play that as well. But without further ado, here is the clip.
Here's what's happening on the right. Young women, I talk to young conservative women all the time about their lives and their goals and, you know, the things that they want. And what's happening is they can't find men who are maybe more conservative. Usually they're looking for somebody who is religious, you know, like a lot of conservative women tend to be God loving conservatives. And they can't find a lot of young men who want to marry a working woman now. And this is an actual problem that's coming up on the right. And to me, it's so sad because it's like, how did we get to the point where we're now telling young, conservative, amazing women that they're not attractive if they also work, if they choose to, let's say, do what I'm doing and what you're doing and like get their voice out there. But I'll stick with me just because I think conservatives listening to this will like the thought of another Megyn Kelly voice up and coming.
Yikes.
Well, why wouldn't we want that? Why would we take somebody who's talented in this field and really wants to make a difference and have the messaging to her be, you're really not that valuable unless you give it up and go into the home and only have a family and only raise a family. And not only are we sending her that message, but young men are actually believing that. They're actually believing it, especially on the right, because like the trad mom has gotten so popular. And it's like, no, if we do that, we're not going to have any strong conservative or right-leaning women to provide a role model for younger conservative women who, and there's nothing to apologize for here, don't necessarily want to spend all their 20s and their 30s getting married and having kids, or can't. They just weren't able to meet somebody and definitely don't need to be shamed over it.
Oh my God. I almost don't even know where to begin. I really don't. I mean, there's so much overlap and inconsistent. There's so many inconsistencies in this worldview that she just put forward in these sentiments and statements. I don't even know where to begin. So, but I'm gonna nail it down. You guys know that this is the biggest thing that I go hard in the paint about because I can't stand to see it. Feminism is by far, in a way, top three, if not the biggest ailments to the enrichment of our society. It is uh, probably the biggest force towards the detriment of Western society and really, realistically, the globe, but definitely the West. It directly has brought down the beautiful society that we used to have in the past. We now live in a society of decadence, decay, immorality, um, and degeneracy. So, but I just wanted to play it one time through, but now we're going to react to it, play by play here. So let's go ahead and share again. And here we go.
Here's what's happening on the right. Young women, and I talk to young conservative women all the time about their lives and their goals and, the things that they want.
Boom. We got to stop there. Number one, she basically tells on herself right away by saying that she talks to women on the right all the time. That in and of itself is somewhat feminist. It wouldn't be feminist if it was in the context of a patriarchal society where traditional women mentored other young and up and coming women towards traditionalism and in the ways of being a feminine woman. But in the context that she's saying, it very much is feminine or feminism, excuse me, not feminine. It is feministic, okay? Because in this world where anything you can do, I can do better, where men and women are interchangeable widgets, it's very peculiar why she doesn't talk with as many men as she does with women. Well, I mean, why are you going out of your way to talk with women in the modern landscape? Now, I get it. It's kind of a rhetorical question. I do understand it, but I understand it from my traditional mindset where men and women are different. So I understand why women would want to talk with other women. But in the context of modernity, it's not super consistent. But that's not even my biggest gripe. I just wanted to point out that pretty much from the beginning of the video, she pretty much tells on herself. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna listen to some more here.
They want. And what's happening is they can't find men who are maybe more conservative. Usually they're looking for somebody who is religious, like a lot of conservative women tend to be God loving conservatives.
Oh my God.
And they can't find.
Okay, so there's two things here right off the bat that this is probably the biggest thing. So number one, she says that these traditional conservative women, which by the way, being conservative and being traditional are not the same. Andrew Wilson and Rachel Wilson will commonly say that definitely Rachel, that they don't even consider themselves traditional because it is almost impossible to be traditional in the ways of old, um, with the massive indoctrination of feminism that has just washed over all of us. It is nearly impossible to be traditional. But just to keep things fairly easy and surface level here. There is a difference between being a conservative and being traditional. And like for me, I consider myself a traditional conservative man. I am trying to conserve traditional values, also nationalistic and things like that. So she says that women are struggling to find, that these types of women are struggling to find Christian men. Yes, are men starting to step away from Protestant churches? Yes, they are. But those same men are commonly going into more traditional churches by way of Catholicism, by way of Orthodoxy, and things like that. And it would not surprise me that these women are surveying the landscape and they're not seeing a whole lot of men because there really aren't a ton of men young men in Protestant churches anymore. Okay? But here's the thing. It's almost their own fault because their mothers of old pushed their fathers into the Protestant church, and even modern women, like if you watch the whatever podcast you watch for Fresh and Fit, this is commonly the case on the whatever podcast. What do they call themselves when you see these traditional OF creators, these traditional Christian OF creators? What do, and we've seen it multiple times. What denomination do they usually belong to? Well, they call themselves non-denominational, which is basically Protestant, without having the courage to say, no, I'm a Baptist, I'm an evangelical, so on and so on. The one chick that Andrew has gone back and forth on, who was the former OF creator, Nala, of course, she was non-denominational. Okay. But even with all of that aside, I promise you, they can find traditional men. How do we know this? Because men are the ones that are voting in droves for conservatism, for conservative candidates. Now, again, from my perspective, the modern Republican Party is not terribly conservative, but just to keep things like on a even surface level keel, we're not going to delve all the way into that. We know that men tend to be more conservative. They can find them. But the problem is because the father has left the family in a lot of regards and has been taken out of the picture as far as the decision making process goes, and this kind of this masculine guidance has been taken away from women. Their hypergamous tendencies really bear out. And so all these women who are telling Megyn Kelly that it's hard for them to find a traditional good man, I guarantee you that almost all of those same women are getting banged out by Chad, Tyrone, or has been banged out by Chad and Tyrone. And deep down inside, they know that that's what they're looking for. Whether they want to admit it or not, that is what they're looking for, because women don't really struggle to find men. That's why Myron Gaines always said, if it always says, if you're single and you're a woman, you're a failure. It is not that hard. But the reason why this whole stat of over 50% of women by 2030, it's actually going to be sooner than that. By the time they're 30, will be childless, marriageless, and so on and so on. The whole reason that that is the case is because women are hypergamous, and they aren't, their standards have also risen in this day and age where, you know what, queen, you're a boss bitch, you can go for whatever you want, you deserve that, queen, you don't need to lower your standards, hell no. I know I'm kind of getting ebonic here, but you don't have to lower your standards. If they really wanted to, they could find a nice traditional man. And yes, I will even be willing to be good faith here and say that yeah, a lot of modern men are weak and not very masculine. But again, a lot of that has to do with feminism and the degradation and the shaming of masculinity. So that's point number one. If they wanted to, they could find, and obviously the original sentiment that I put alongside the first point that Megyn Kelly stated. And then the second thing is she says that these women are Christian women. And this is kind of just the big, like, hello, Megan, don't you realize how inconsistent you're being here? On one hand, she's calling these women Christian, but in the same breath, she's talking about how men need to accept, how traditional men, good men, need to accept the modern working woman. And we need to accept that it's okay to get a woman, at 30 or over 30 who has been banged out multiple times and hasn't done her duty for society and had children yet, and so on and so on. There's another video actually that I want to react to where this girl kind of jokingly she's getting herself all worked up because she's talking about how she wants a husband and a family, but she's realizing like how quick that needs to happen. It went totally viral, and I'll react to that. But it's true. Like women don't have a ton of time, and the modern feminist message of breaking down the nuclear family and breaking down sexual differences between males and females en route to promoting women entering the workforce has totally eroded the natural relationship situation that has existed for thousands of years before modernity. So it's just very funny. Like, it's very ironic how she's calling them Christian. And I guarantee I could find quote after quote after Bible verse. And I'm not trying to pull, I'm Orthodox Christian. I'm not trying to pull sola scriptura here, stating that women need to find a husband. They need to be submissive. They need to have children. They need to be fruitful and they need to multiply. Nowhere in their Bible does it say that they need to be modern working women. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong necessarily for women to work. I don't think that as many women should be in the workforce as is the case now, and I don't think that they should be in the workforce like men are. But the main thing is it shouldn't be their number one priority. Their number one priority should be to find a good man, get a husband in no short order, and have children. Because as Rachel Wilson talks about, women have a whole second half of their life. I mean, even men to a certain degree, but definitely women, where once their children get older, they really can start looking towards some of these interests of theirs. But they've fulfilled their duty to society. And this really is the main problem here, guys, is that really all feminism has done is it's allowed women to have their cake and eat it too. It's allowed them to have this buffet style feminism where men have to stay the exact same traditional protector, provider, good Christian man, where women have this ability to kind of be fluid in their dynamics. One day they're getting banged out by the football squad. The next day they're trying to get husband up and this and that and live the tradcon life and be a Christian gal. One second they're a working gal. The next that they're living the tradcon life. And this is just it goes on and on and on, guys. I mean, this is where we are at. I had to remember what it's called. I think it's Schrodinger's feminist. I think that's what it's called, where essentially uh you are taking where essentially you're not living out pure feminism to its fullness, okay, of true equality. In other words, you are picking and choosing what benefits you as a woman, but you're not, but your number one goal is not true equality. All right, let's keep watching this. Let's get this screen shared. We're gonna keep rocking.
Find a lot of young men who want to marry a working woman now. This is an actual problem that's coming up on the right. And to me, it's so sad because it's like, how did we get to the point where we're now telling young, conservative, amazing women that they're not attractive if they also work. If they choose to, let's say, do what I'm doing and what you're doing and like get their voice out there. But I'll stick with me just because I think conservatives listening to this will like the thought of another Megyn Kelly voice up and coming. Well, why wouldn't we want that? Why?
Erm, actually, no. Nobody needs that. See, this is the whole thing. Like, somebody like Megyn Kelly has this over sense of self-worth where she really believes that people are like respect and admire her for her opinions and her intelligence and ability to uh look outward towards the political and social landscape and give a critical analysis. No, 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 no. Okay. No, 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 no. Everything Megyn Kelly has gotten, 99.9999999% of it is because of her looks. It's because of her looks, plain and simple. And no, men are not looking around asking how can we get more Megyn Kellys? No, men don't give a shit about that. Men don't care about women's careers. That's what women care about when it comes to men. And this is where women really make a fatal mistake because it's hard for them to get out of their female mind and empathetically think outwardly um, for anybody but themselves. Men don't care about that. Men want a feminine, nurturing, loving woman who's going to be a wife and a mother. That is what men are looking for. They're not looking for, oh shit, fuck, dude, damn, that girl's so hot. She's the next Megyn Kelly, yo. She's the next Megyn Kelly, yo. Let me go and get her number right quick. No, 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 that is not happening. And I wouldn't be surprised if she I don't know how many people are watching her show, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a decent amount, but they're all boomer men who fucking again pedestalize women and this is just like low level nography for them where they are watching a beautiful woman because they find her attractive.
Why would we take somebody who's talented in this field and really wants to make a difference and have the messaging to her be, you're really not that valuable unless you give it up and go into the home and only have a family and only raise a family. Not only are we sending her that message, but
Yeah, no, we need to be sending that message because Megan, our population is crumbling. There are a million of yous. There are not any longer a million. Just I don't know the exact numbers. Obviously, I'm just being hyperbolic, but there are not a majority of women that are out there looking and seeking to be wives and mothers. You are the norm. That's what she doesn't realize. Like you are the norm. What incentive do men have? I was thinking of saying do does. What incentive do men have to like promote a woman like you? Like, why would we care? You are literally everything that represents the ailments to men. promote you and what you represent. What? And again, it at the end of the day, women like Megyn Kelly are not traditional conservatives. They're not. They think they are in their bullshit made up mind. Realistically, they're just fiscal conservatives. That's it. They're neocons. They are not traditional conservative. We need to bring back the patriarch. We need to have men in charge. No, they're not. They're not. I guarantee if Andrew Wilson had one conversation with Megyn Kelly, he would end her career in a second by exposing these things. But she won't talk to somebody like that. Not in a million years.
But young men are actually believing that. They're actually believing it, especially on the right, because like the trad mom has gotten so popular. And it's like, no, if we do that, we're not going to have any strong conservative or right leaning women to provide.
Good. We don't need that. Who needs that? We don't need that. The party, maybe these like rich donors and the elite class is saying that because they're all basically liberals, but all of us true like normal human being traditional conservative people, especially men, are not saying this. We're saying the opposite, obviously, or else she wouldn't be reacting to this. But realistically, all of this is just putting up a self-reflective mirror. I guess that's kind of um too much there. Self-reflective mirror. I mean, that's kind of the same, we're putting up a mirror to her, and she doesn't like the critique that she's receiving.
A role model for younger conservative women who, and there's nothing to.
No, what we need is a role model for truly feminine mothers and wives. That's what we need. We need an example of that. Where is that, Megyn? Please, God, bring that back. Please. That is what we need.
Apologize for here don't necessarily want to spend all their 20s and their 30s getting married and having kids, or
Oh, wow.
can't. They just weren't able to meet somebody and definitely don't need to be shamed
Oh, can't?
over it.
And then they don't need to be shamed over it. And guess what? They skirt accountability again. I don't, guys, I could not have said all of this better myself. She literally provided a perfect encapsulation of everything wrong with modernity, with the modern right wing, especially in the elite class of the right wing. Wow. All right, we're gonna Isabel Moody said, turns out Megyn Kelly is just another so-called conservative
Here's what's
feminist.
happening.
True that. We're going to watch or listen to Jedediah. I think she has a good anecdotal experience. She kind of came up with Megyn Kelly. And so we'll go ahead and give that a quick listen. All right, guys, here we go.
Really wants to make a difference and have the messaging to her be, you're really not that valuable unless you give it up and go into the home and only have a family and only raise a family.
So that also, let's stop. I don't, that wording, and only have a family, like it, that's over here in the corner, right? That's part of your job, but it's not all of your, only raise a family.
I will admit, I love where she's taking this. Megyn Kelly saying that actually really exposed her viewpoint of true femininity, being a mother and having children, and housewife, yada yada yada. She just exposed it with how she said that can only be. Oh yeah, only, as if that's such a small thing. She should be ashamed of herself for saying that garbage.
Family, like it's minimized. You're only going to raise a family? That's a feminist talking point. I'm sorry, but it is. It's the most important job. It's it, right? Because guess what? That career ambition, that's masculine energy. It is. We'll get to that in a second. It's masculine energy, and it eats away at your feminine energy. As you climb those ladders and you go into those rooms and have to negotiate contracts and have to show up on live TV and kick ass, your feminine energy goes, it has to. It has to. Or you don't survive in that world, in that Megyn Kelly world. And that world is vicious because I've been in it. I've been in those meetings. I've dealt with the agents. I've done it all. It is vicious. It rips at your soul as a woman. We're being dishonest if we don't share that.
Well said. Well said, Jedediah. Like I said, I think she's kind of she can be a feminist at times too, but she's not as bad as the rest. Let's see if she has something else to say here.
Television. Say you go into podcasting. She's talking about conservative women who want to get into the industry. So I'm going to address it from that angle. But again, you can look at it from the angle of someone, getting serious. Wall Street woman, same game. When you go into those meetings, and I'm going to talk specifically about media because I've been there. When your agent sends you into these meetings.
Yeah, Megyn Kelly is referring to e-girl thoughts, right-wing e-girl thoughts, which are the plague of the conservative movement.
When you're competing with men.
No e-girls, never e-girls.
In these industries, when you are talking about salaries all the time and you are basically having to put out there that you will take no shit, when you are covering news topics that are very antagonistic and having to butt heads all day long, like this on television and news particularly, you are masculinized. You have to be in order to handle it. Your softness, your feminine energy that you would have gets beaten out of you because you can't walk into those meetings with your soft feminine energy. You'll get stomped on.
Huh. Sounded like she said the same thing, but with different words. Am I the only one that saw that? And then let's listen to a little bit of what Matt Walsh had to say.
Amount of time talking about marriage from the perspective of a man. This is a perspective that isn't discussed often enough and is even less understood. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the concept of emotional labor, which is a term used almost exclusively by women about themselves. The claim, which you'll find in a million articles or hear in a million TikTok videos, is that women carry a disproportionate amount of the emotional and mental burdens of marriage and family life. And I explained why that is a rather severe misconception. This past Friday, we talked about the wildly viral video of a feminist social media influencer who announced to the world that she almost divorced her husband for failing to do household chores when and how she wanted. And I, again, explained in detail why that woman has an attitude that will kill her marriage, just like it's killed so many thousands of marriages before hers. Now, we're not going to rehash either of those conversations, but we are going to spend some more time in this general vicinity. A couple of days ago, Megyn Kelly jumped into the fray.
Now, for what it's worth, I have my own issues with Matt Walsh. I agree with him on a lot of shit. I'd say at least 95%. Okay. He's not the most akin to my worldview of other right-wing media figures, but I'd say he's somewhat close.
Right. She shared her own reaction to that viral
full disclosure
video I just mentioned. She seemed to generally disapprove of the woman castigating her husband publicly, but she also disapproves of the way that many men on the right approach and talk about marriage. And I'm going to play those comments from Megyn and offer a response. But before I do that, I need to rewind the clock by about a year to set the stage. And before I do that, I need to preface everything I'm saying by saying that I personally like Megyn. I've been on her show a number of times. I've had nothing but pleasant interactions with her. I met her in person for the first time at one of the inaugural balls in January. I found her to be very kind in person. So I have no personal problem with her at all. But she does have a bit of a problem with me, it would seem. So before we get to Megyn's comments this week, I'm going to play something that she said about me last year. And I heard this clip at the time, but I decided not to say anything about it or to respond to it. I try not to get into public spats with people on our own side, which is why I quite frequently let it slide when people on our side, who I thought were friends or at least friendly, take shots at me, which it happens all the time. But I feel it necessary to bring this up now because it will provide some important context to Megyn's remarks last week. And also, I think the conflict between feminism and what we now call the traditional view of marriage and gender roles is coming to a head. It's coming to a head on the right. And now is the time to get it all out in the open.
It is coming to a head. I totally agree with that. I've said many times, we are living in a day and age over the next 5 to 10 years where the future of the left wing is going to be decided and the future of the right wing is going to be decided. On the left wing, you have like more extreme leftism versus kind of what has been the classical liberal view on things. Like even if you just go back like 10 years and listen to what Hillary Clinton said, it sounds like super conservative nowadays versus some of the shit that she said now. And it just shows the evolution and kind of the battle, the Ocasio Cortez's versus, you know, the fucking what the fuck is it? JFK's nephew, what is his name? Ron Kennedy. And then on the right wing, you have neocons like George Bush, Marco Rubio, dare I say Donald Trump? No, but you know, kind of just economic conservatives, metaxas, low taxes, tariffs, you know, versus like, no. We're bringing back the patriarch. We're bringing back traditionalism. Christianity needs to be at the forefront. Racial issues are going to be at the forefront. We're going to talk about that, discuss that. Immigration, LGBTQT. We're dealing with it all. So I agree with him there. Also, I don't think there's any issue talking about somebody who's quote unquote on your side, because in my experience watching politics, there's really only like a select few that are about it, and you can count them on one hand. The rest are all pretenders. The rest are all pretenders. So they need to be exposed.
Open. As conservatives, we have to decide if we want to conserve the view of the sexes that was held by basically everyone in the world for all of human history until the middle of the 20th century, or if we want to conserve feminism.
Well said.
We cannot conserve both.
That's true.
I know which I prefer. So with that said, let's go back to February 3rd, 2024, when Megyn Kelly appeared on a podcast called Chicks on the Right. At the time that this podcast was recorded, Megyn was pretty angry at me for making some derogatory comments about feminism, as I tend to do. And here is the setup from the host. Listen.
I think it was right after you'd written a book, and so we had you on to talk about your book. And there was some controversy happening at the time with Matt Walsh, and I know you had a beef with him recently on Twitter
Back then
about
there
a
was a
similar
controversy?
topic. Yes,
Oh my God.
there was controversy because he's always been the same guy when it comes to women have their place and that needs to be at home and they shouldn't have careers and all that stuff. So, and it was about that. And we talked to you about that. And you said something that has never left my brain. And I loved how you said it. And I refer back to it all the time because I struggled with his arguments. He's very persuasive. He's an excellent writer, as I'm sure you know. And his criticisms were like getting to me. And I remember that I asked you about it in that show and you said, I just know that having a career and family, having that career makes me the best version of myself for my family. And I was like, that is the perfect way to describe how we think. I think how we feel about our.
That is such bullshit. For every Megyn Kelly, there are thousands upon thousands of downtrodden women who are 30, turning 40, 30 going on 40. They're childless. They've been divorced multiple times, and they will be single and dying alone. And that's it. Because once time is up for women, it's up. It's done. It's not like men where we kind of have our whole lives to accumulate and build and so on and so on. Women, once you're out of that range, it's done. But see, even somebody like Megyn Kelly would disagree with that because she is a feminist. She believes in the feminist trope that men and women are the same, and women are just as beautiful at 50 and able to secure a good quality man as when she was 25.
Our own
Yeah,
careers.
absolutely.
It just really resonated with me. And
We're going to watch like 2 more minutes of this and then I'm going to end.
so when I saw you guys kind of beefing about a month ago or 3 weeks ago or whatever about the similar issue.
Okay, so we'll get to Megyn's what she says in a second. Well, I will say guilty as charged. I have always been the same guy. For the most part, I'm saying the same things now that I said 13 years ago when I was a mostly unknown blogger with like 5,000 Twitter followers. I might be a jerk, but at least I've always been the same kind of jerk. You have to give me that. But Megyn Kelly has had enough of it. She's had enough of my crap, and she wants me to shut up.
Bruh, what is going on? Just pause, dude. My internet is down.
I'm not exaggerating. That's what she said verbatim. Listen.
And again, having said that, I like the guy. I'm getting a little tired of his nonstop judgment of women who make different choices than the ones he wants us to make. Sorry, Matt, you're not our Jesus. We don't answer to you. Like, live your life the way you want to live it and stop judging everybody who makes a different choice. I'm sick of it. I know you gals, and generally women, we're not judging moms who choose to stay at home and raise their kids. That's a choice we celebrate.
Absolutely
We
not.
love. Those are our sisters and our friends.
No, that is so fucking patently false. Again, for every one of you who are not doing that, which by the way, you ended up doing in the clip that I just reviewed, indirectly, but you still did it. For every one of you, there are, again, thousands of women who are judging more traditional, stay-at-home moms that are wives and mothers to their children.
And our moms. Women aren't doing this to other women for the most part. It's guys
Yes, they are.
like Matt. Like, shut up. I'm
False.
not out there saying your wife is boring and a loser because she decided not to get a job. I don't think that. I think it's awesome. She's the mother of 6 children. She must be incredibly busy. But why are you looking at every woman who works and trying to pass judgment and make her feel guilty about her choices all the time? It's a fail. We don't feel guilty because of you. But I'm just getting tired of his random posts
Sound pretty guilty.
about how the one woman who said, "Oh, I'm confessing that I really liked it when the guy I dated wanted to pay for the meal." And he's like, "No, you can't have that unless you play the traditionally feminine role." Who died and made you boss of all women? What are you saying? Like, I don't know why he feels the need to try to set fake guardrails around.
And by the way, just a small secondary point, women do influence other women. And yes, there are other women out there that are totally judging stay-at-home moms. And then number 2, these women right now are influencing each other. That is why moms, daughters tend to follow in the steps of their single mother, their divorced mother. Women will bring down other women because unconsciously they're in their hive brain, they're still competing for the top man, the top resources, the top echelon of things, and so they will bring each other down. It's easy for Megyn to say this where she has been able to have kind of a little bit of everything, which is super, super rare. Meanwhile, there's millions of other women that will be dying alone and childless.
Our behavior. It's a no, Matt. We don't need you.
Yeah. Although we have seen, though, there are a lot of...
And also, there's a difference between what is for you and what ought to be, what is the best for society.
These conservative pundits, younger ones, the younger women who are kind of taking that discourse and running with it and saying, hey, say no to the high-powered careers, ladies.
Wow. Megyn. Okay. I confess that I don't take very kindly to being told to shut up, especially by someone who's supposed to be on the same side and who could reach out to me and voice her concerns privately if she wanted to. But it doesn't hurt my feelings. I could take the heat, which is why I let this go at the time. But this rant is now newly relevant given what she said last week. So keep in mind the language that Megyn just used. She said that I don't understand women. I'm trying to control women. I'm trying to tell women what to do. I'm trying to be, Jesus? I'm trying to be the Jesus of women or whatever. I'm judging women. I'm putting up guardrails. Now, I don't think that that's an accurate characterization at all, but I do think that these terms would pretty well describe Megyn's attitude towards young men. So here she is on her show.
That's
last
true.
week.
Well,
But here's what's happening on the right.
Well said, Matt. That's true.
Young women, I talk to young conservative
Oh, shocker that it's Anna Kasparian she's talking to. Shocker.
women all the time
Shocker.
about their lives and their goals and, the things that they want. And what's happening is they can't find men who are maybe more conservative. Usually they're looking for somebody who is...
Okay, we've already watched this. I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
And to me, it's so sad because it's like, how did we get to the point where we're now just because I think conservatives live in a family and only raise a family. And not only or right-leaning women.
Young men these days don't want to marry a career woman. And she says this is a real problem. She says that these young men are not attracted to working women, but obviously she thinks they should be. That these men are believing the, anti-feminist propaganda. They've been duped, says Megyn Kelly. It's very sad. She says it's sad. In other words, it seems that the one putting up guardrails and judging other people for what they want in life is Megyn Kelly. Megyn doesn't seem to understand these young men. She says that I don't understand women, she says, and I probably understand women more than she thinks I do, but I admit I don't understand them perfectly. I'm not a woman after all. I've been married to a woman for almost 15 years. I'm raising 2 girls. I have a mom and 4 sisters. I'm not clueless on the subject, but I'm not an expert on the inner life of women, and I've never claimed to be. Tax season is officially here, and the IRS is turning up the heat with the April 15th deadline we haven't seen in years, driven by heightened administrative scrutiny strategies. Your consultation is absolutely free. Do it. Megyn is not an expert on men. In fact, she seems to be rather flummoxed by them. And her confusion is, I think, shared by all of the feminist voices in our culture. And those voices are a lot louder and have a lot more power than the voices of the young men that she is criticizing here. And this is the message that young men have heard their entire lives from every corner of the culture. And that's why it's worth responding to her in some detail. So I'd like to make a few points. First of all, Megyn is correct about her fundamental observation that men are generally not attracted to ambitious, career-driven women. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that men will not marry those kinds of women. And I'm not saying that wives should never have jobs. In many households, both parents work out of financial necessity. I understand that. There are also many different kinds of jobs that a woman might take on, which don't always require going to an office full time. My own wife is right now working on organizing a fundraising gala for a Catholic homeschool hybrid academy. She enjoys it. She's good at it. It's a service that she's able to provide to support quality Catholic education, and she can do it at home. And I am caricatured by people like Megyn as believing that women should only ever do the dishes and laundry and nothing else, but that's not actually my view. I think a woman's first priority should be the children and the home, but that doesn't mean she can't do other things and pursue other vocations alongside that. And as I said, in many cases, a family might feel that they need 2 full-time incomes in order to survive. I understand all of that, but this conversation is about ideals and about attraction. What is the ideal that men strive for? What qualities do they find attractive in a woman? So most men ideally would like to earn an income that would allow them to be the sole breadwinner in the home. Most men like the idea of being the provider. That ideal will not always become a reality, but it is the ideal. And as for attraction, men are not generally attracted to a woman's professional ambitions. And that's just not the quality that attracts a man to a woman. Now, that isn't to say that men are never attracted to women with careers. What I'm saying is that the fact that a woman has a career will rarely be the thing, or even one of the things, that men find attractive about her.
Amen. So true.
Okay? When a man is talking to his friends about a woman he's dating, he's almost certainly not going to say any version of this. Dude, she's great. She takes her career really seriously. She's super ambitious. She has so much earning potential. Now, that's the kind of thing that a woman might say to her friends, maybe using different words, but that's the kind of idea that a woman might communicate to her friends about the man that she's dating. A man is not going to say that about a woman. As a man, I have never heard another man say anything approaching that about a woman that he's dating or married to. I've never heard that. Because men and women are different. They are looking for different things, Megyn. A man might be attracted to a woman with a career, but he's not going to be attracted to her because of her career. And a woman who puts her career before anything, a woman who prioritizes her professional ambitions above all else, will be very unappealing to the vast majority of men.
All right, guys, we're gonna end it there. Maybe we should have just fast forwarded to the end, because he's actually got some good things to say. Maybe I'll react to that a different time. You guys can check it out. He has it on his X, and I'm sure you guys can find it on his channel, but my video's too long now. But still, we got some good stuff in the lead up to his response. And so I think it was a worthy listen and worthy to react to, especially the conversation with the other conservative women that Megyn Kelly was talking to. So there you guys have it. Another modern woman exposed, who believes that she is a conservative, traditional, woman who basically says that in the same token as what she would expect a tradcon woman to say. It's just not true. Megyn Kelly is not a traditional woman. She is a neocon. She is at the most, a fiscal conservative. That is it. Nothing more, nothing less. And furthermore, she is patently false when it comes to what men are looking for, what they should be looking for, and what is the best for society. That is what we are getting down to. And this battle is going to continue to rage on. And I'm going to continue to give my 2 cents about it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP. Don't be a pussy willow and facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, kings. See you guys next time. Christ is king. Peace.